Welcome again to another episode of Climate Connect Nigeria. Here we talk about climate change and the intersection with other aspects of life. And today we have one person who has really been into climate change discussion in Nigeria and Africa. And you know, the lead up to COP29. COP29 is happening, it's around the corner, and that is a conference where conference of parties, that's what they call COP. And so a lot of countries will be there to negotiate climate change, to talk about climate change, and to see how they can also bring about changes in their countries, to see how that international organizations, multinational organizations, countries that are developed can also come to their aid. And so as a lead up to that conference, which is happening in November, we want to drive conversation. So this series is actually a lead up to COP29. So today we'll be talking about just transition, Nigeria for net zero or for net profit. So this is going to be about the dilemma happening in Nigeria. Seeing that Nigeria's GDP, the higher percentage comes from oil exploration. This is going to analyze the options for Nigeria, seeing that the larger amount of their GDP comes from oil exploration, and they said they are going to phase out coal in the coming years. So how will Nigeria achieve this ambition? How will Nigeria achieve these nationally determined contributions? They say that is one of the things they will do in terms of achieving the 1.5 degrees Celsius according to the Paris Agreement. And today we have Mr. Ilugo Cletus Chukwuemeka, the country lead for Warande Advisory Center Nigeria office, implementing Nigeria Local Coalition Accelerator Program. So join me as we welcome Mr. Cletus Ilugo.
Yeah, viewers online, it's a pleasure to be here. And then I always enjoy you to listen, to watch, and connect to Climate Connect Nigeria. This is a place to be for information, for knowledge, and for acquisition of what expository position that will enhance your climate action as far as Nigeria is concerned. Welcome on board. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ilugo. You would like to walk us through the work you do at Warande Advisory Center, the Nigeria office, and all you've done around climate change.
Yeah, thank you very much. Warande Advisory Center, it's a not-for-profit organization based in Kenya with support from Shade Trust, our senior partner in the US. Our business as an organization is to develop local coalitions with intention to deepen the localization agenda that the world is looking into, thereby cutting off the activities of middlemen, international organizations in developing and rendering humanitarian aids, development programs, and peace-building activities. So against this background, Warande Advisory Center in Kenya has developed coalitions in Bangladesh, Uganda, Ethiopia, Kenya, and Nigeria. So I'm privileged to serve as the country lead for Warande in Nigeria. And our work here is to build the capacity of local coalition organizations to, assess funding, develop their capacities to work through compliance, and ensure that they deepen their operations in environmental management and climate actions. Against this background, the Warande Advisory Center activities in Nigeria works through 9 local organizations who are operating in 3 thematic areas: climate change, livelihood and health, and then education. So if you look at all of these, they are interconnected because an educated individual has the capacity to carry out climate change mitigation activities and again, living in a healthy environment. So all of these are intertwined. So this is what Warande Advisory Center is doing through 9 local organizations operating in Nigeria. So it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for this wonderful.
It's really a quality work you people do at Warande Advisory Center. Achieving net zero. How do you think this is possible?
When we talk about net zero, like you rightly pointed out, what does that imply or what does that mean? It simply means programs and activities that are designed to reduce CO2. By CO2, we mean carbon form emission into the space. Those programs are put in place to ensure the removal, the absorption, and reduce the reduction of this emission. And now you look at Nigeria today. Nigeria is a country that is dependent on fossil fuel. There's exploration of crude oil in the Niger Delta. Of course, crude oil is associated with several processes. When you look at the carbonization process, you look at the exploration, you look at the fractional distillation process, all of this lead to emission of CO2, carbon 4 oxide. And added to it is CO, which is carbon 2 oxide, okay, which is also dangerous. It is even more deadly than the CO2 that we're talking about. So how do we mitigate this? First and foremost, we have to take it from 2 points. We have to look at it from the behavioral point, and we have to look at it from the word industrialization point. Okay. Now, at industrialization point, the Nigerian government needs to develop policies and programs that will bring the multinationals to a table, and we look at the impact of what the carbon 4 emission in our environment. Additionally, this also falls in my thesis, my third master's thesis in University of Benin, when I look at the impact of CO2 emission in Niger Delta on environmental sustainability. So this is even one of the reasons why I offer to be here, because it's in line with what I've studied some years back. Yeah. Now, when you look at this, look at our environment and how petrol or crude oil is being explored from the geophysical point of view, down to exploration and refining. All of this involves the use of chemicals and it leads to carbonization exercise. What do we need to do? The government needs to develop programs and policies to ensure that our exploration processes are in tandem with the commitment we have made at the international space. Secondly, we must also call the multinationals to a round table for them to understand the implication of the CO2 emissions in our environment. Added to this, as I round off on this, you need to understand that the multinationals in Nigeria prefer to pay fines rather than removing the carbon 2 oxide, carbon 4 oxide, because it's cheaper for them to pay fines than to do or carry out the reduction process, because the reduction process involves new technology, involves new idea, and all. Again, it leads to carbon 4 storage process that need to be done. All of these are capital involved.
That will also take me to another point, but I will come back to it later, because you made mention of the developed countries are interested more in paying for carbon emission than actually develop programs that can actually reduce or face it out entirely. And that is where they bring about the issue of carbon market, carbon trading, and all of that.
Yes.
We will come to that later. Now, talking about, apart from fossil fuel, there are some other things that if Nigeria must achieve net zero. Now, we're trying to place a dilemma here, because the country is currently in dilemma. The economic crisis is biting very hard.
Yeah.
And then it is also committing that it's going to achieve net zero, which means that some of the things that are giving them money, in the layman words, are some of the things they have committed to say that we are going to abort them. Which one is oil exploration? Because a larger percentage of Nigerian GDP comes from oil. So if Nigeria will achieve net zero, it means that they are going to stop using oil, to some level. So what does this dilemma actually put to you? Should Nigeria go for net zero? Are there other projects? Are there finances that if Nigeria leave oil exploration today, they can still say that their economy will be good if they leave oil exploration and go for other aspects?
Yeah, one thing we need to look at here is, like I said earlier on, there should be a deliberate policy, action, and programs designed in such a way that Nigeria will follow through, irrespective of who is in government, to ensure that we achieve net zero.
Net zero is a program. On that.
I'm coming. Net zero is achievable.
Yeah. Okay.
If we have programs and policies put in place. That also means that Nigeria has to design a time within which it will phase out the archaic processes of exploration that is leading to this carbon emission by embracing newer technology that will reduce emission into space. Oil, as of today, is the mainstay of Nigerian economy. Secondly, Nigeria has to design diversification process, diversification agenda, and enhance agro-based activities, improve on agriculture. And now look at it. Let's look at carbon cycle, and let's look at the environmental filtration. Okay? God, in His infinite mercy, ensured that the forest has a way of absorbing carbon 4 or carbon dioxide back by plants. So Nigeria also need to improve on agroforestry activities, tree planting, and agricultural activity as a way to absorb the excess of some of these emissions that are taking place, while also implementing economic activities in other sectors, such as technology that are not, carbon prone in the economy, using the resources and the revenue gotten from oil to establish all of this. This will ensure that over time, our emission will reduce while also maintaining our economic stability without affecting our base. Because if today we take a final decision and say we are going for net zero, we stop oil, and there is no other program of revenue generation for Nigeria, it means Nigeria will fall into recession. And that is not good for us. When we fall into recession and it's not properly taken care of, we'll get to a stage in economies what we call stagflation. Inflation is high and there's stagnation in the economy. So what we need to do, as I wrap up on this, Nigeria needs to plan for diversification. Nigeria also needs to embrace technology that will reduce carbon emission, and then Nigeria needs to ensure that agro-based activities, including agroforestry and afforestation, is put to the forefront. This will help us to achieve what we have committed in international space.
Oh, okay. So in terms of agroforestry and afforestation, those are ways that Nigeria can actually go to in terms of emission reduction.
Yeah.
But as of today, the data suggests that Nigeria, as an African country, are one of those countries that are contributing lesser to carbon emission.
Yes.
All right. So at the moment, their emission is not really at the danger level yet.
Yes.
But then, because of the conversation internationally, Nigeria will need to design projects and programs, just like you said,
yes,
to harmonize their determined contributions. So now, if Nigeria, what are those things that Nigeria use their oil for? In terms of, okay, you talk about transportation, you talk about electricity, you talk about so many other things,
yes,
that those things actually cater for. So if you are phasing out coal now, you are phasing out fossil fuel, you mean you are developing other projects that could take away those areas.
That's correct. So what does this imply? Nigerian government has to fund research and development adequately in our institutions of higher learning, the universities and polytechnic, to ensure that localized technology are developed. I'm intentional with the word localized, the choice of that word. Localized in that technologies that are based, designed, and Nigerian-driven should be developed, and they are possible.
Just to go straight, are there technologies around that area you could really recommend?
Definitely. Let me give you an instance. If probably, as a Nigerian, and I implore you to do so, take a visit to Ojukwu Bunker in Abia State. Ojukwu Bunker is a place, the museum, where the relics of Nigerian war, the technologies developed by Biafran soldiers during the war, are kept. And war ended 54 years ago. If we have developed those technologies further, we probably will not be where we are. Nigerians have indigenous technology, but until we advance them, we will not go far. Everywhere in our society today, you see youths developing ideas that can produce light and the rest of them. All we need to do is to bring them close, develop them further, and scale up. And then technology should be localized and should not be attributed to tribe, because it's from